Hello everyone outside there, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're seated, whatever you're doing, whichever place you are. I always tell you, just like always, that sit down. It's yet another time for geopolitics from Tribal Roots Africa. I always tell you, we are fixing Africa, you are fixing Africa, all of us are fixing Africa. Hello everyone, once again, that is watching and that has always watched Tribal Roots, Geopolitics. We are always so delighted to always have you with us every time. Your comments are so useful. Like I always promise you that please put your comment down, subscribe to Tribal Roots Africa, subscribe to the team that wants to fix Africa, just like all of us should fix Africa. It's yet another great time that we are having our one and only Derek. As usual, he's one of the people that I find closest to because he's very informed, just like I always tell you. Mr. Derek,
thank you.
Good evening, good afternoon. I don't know what time it is.
Well, I think it's evening.
Okay. So, you're most welcome to Tribal Roots Studio.
It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to also meeting you and interacting with you, this and that. Yeah, you can say hello to the viewers outside there.
Hello, viewers. I hope you had a great and exciting week yet again. It's always, like I said, it's always a pleasure to return to the studio to share with you.
Thank you so much. Just like I always tell you that geopolitics is always about things that are always happening around your region, around your country, around your continent, around your household, around your community. This week around, we have another interesting topic. Just like we always say that geopolitics is all about the current affairs, what's happening, what's going to happen, and all that. Mr. Derek, today we have yet another exciting topic that we need to talk about. Mr. Derek, you know very well that Kenya is a country which is one of the countries in Africa. Well, it's in East Africa, and it's one of the countries that are getting ready or are preparing for the next elections. And when we look at the history of Kenya, its elections have always been associated with violence, disruption. Like it has been associated with killings. On record, we have little, or if I can say, little history about peaceful elections in Kenya. Not just during elections, but even after elections. And it's always most common after elections where people kill each other over politics. And I mean, it's a big concern because it does not only affect Kenya, it affects regions, the neighboring countries, just like as I talk here in Uganda. It also affects in Uganda. It affects all East African countries that are surrounding Kenya and Africa at large.
You should say, but Uganda in particular.
Uganda in particular.
Yeah.
All right. So talk about Kenya's politics. First of all, talk about Kenya's politics, its stand, and what's there.
Well, I think I would say, and I would reiterate the statement that anytime Kenya sneezes, Uganda catches a cold.
Okay.
Well, that's a paradox, but I find it sufficient to describe the situation between Uganda and Kenya. I would say that the description of the narrative of politics in Kenya has been a heinous one, very terrific over the years. I think Kenya is one of those countries that has labeled itself as a very harsh context for democracy in Africa, and that is very absurd. Well, in the recent past, that has been amended a bit. We are starting to see a little bit of calm. And also possibly the highlight of what you were talking about, of Kenyan election being a very violent context, I think was 2008. The political crisis that happened there where over 500,000
Okay, you can say that 2008 was the most recorded, like the most...
Well, it is the highlight. It is the highlight.
The highlight, but it has been following.
I think, and I would want to be corrected if possible, that is one of the biggest, worst ever contexts for democracy on the African continent. After maybe, I don't find anything actually worse than that.
Okay.
So I would actually label my statement, and I start to be corrected. it should be the worst context for democracy on the African continent ever. So, and before I actually delve into the question that you put to me, this actually raises a concern whether we as a society are ready for democracy as a system of governance and election. Otherwise, well, back to what you said, I think the economies, the behavior, even ethnicities of Kenya and Uganda are so much intertwined in such a way that Uganda cannot leave the political situation in Kenya at autopilot. Well, this year, in the run-up to the election, it is quite so interesting because Kenya has also set itself apart as one of the most frugal when it comes to the judicial terms in the continent.
Sure.
The first court ruling that was against a sitting incumbent, or rather an election result, and was successful in Africa was in Kenya just recently in the year 2018. So that was in the last election. I feel that everybody's eyes is looking at Kenya in this particular term of decision making, and it kind of makes the situation very fragile in a way that well, things might happen, but I don't really know if Uganda can closely monitor the situation in Kenya in such a way, because the technicalities involved this time are so obscure to see, because we have very many forces at play right now. We have the judiciary, we have technical geniuses that are unprecedented, the likes of William Samoei Ruto.
Should we say that these entities were relaxed before?
Well, I think it is the same wine in different bottles. We've been seeing Raila Odinga over the years. This is his fifth time standing.
Yeah.
William Samoei Ruto has actually stood under the same party that Raila Odinga currently heads. So I feel it is the same different. It's the same political game, just that it is packed in material that is so alien.
Okay.
Now that is quite an issue for economies like Uganda that closely trade with Kenya. So the biggest fact here is for things like dairy products that Uganda seriously exports to Kenya.
Talk about
that
the
was
maize
that was
also
before,
rejected.
exactly. Of recent, you go to see that Kenya actually imports a lot of maize. Kenya, the only country in the world that Kenya can import the kind of maize that they can get from Uganda, I think, is Mexico, which is also very far away. The only country that Kenya can get sugar from in the quantity that Uganda can provide is Brazil, which is also very far away. The only country that Kenya can get milk from is Uganda. Well, we had a certain deal, I think in around 1998, about Kenya trying to get milk from Tanzania or what, but they got to see that it could not suffice. It was a road deal, it could not work. So we start to see Kenya as a very huge market for the Ugandan economy, an economy that is very centered on agriculture and export. So me, I would tell this to any conscious businessman out there in Uganda, or even policymakers on what to closely monitor the situation in Kenya. We are starting to see a lot of changes in Kenya, in the Kenyan economic environment. Just of recent, Britannia was actually putting their shares for sale.
Yeah, sure.
Auctioning them. The Britannia Kenya.
Yeah.
So
there was also that MTN saga.
The MTN thing about people maybe. Well, it's a bit complex. I won't bring it to this situation, but I would possibly allude to the Britannia case, for example. And I would say what I would lesson drawn from that is that actually there is a kind of skepticism about the Kenyan business environment in this year particularly. Sure. But anyway, the nature of business is one that is about guess and take, not give and take. It's about predict and win.
True.
It's about that kind of situation. So me, this would actually be a very serious situation for business leaders in Uganda to closely monitor.
Okay, Mr. Derek, there is an old saying that says that advice from a divorced man cannot help a breaking marriage. Well, you're talking about Uganda being one of the countries that are going to supersede, if I can say, Kenyan elections, so that they can't be violent enough. But we have a record in Uganda that also it has been also having a few, not to mention, or maybe they're not so like alarming, but a few cases of election violence. And it's one of the countries that want to intervene. Should we say Kenya is that bad off, or should we say, okay, how best can we trust countries or certain entities that we are sure they have also a track record of violence?
Well, I wouldn't buy into that. What you actually say, that Uganda is a very unstable, equally unstable society in the region, or what? I would actually, on the contrary, say that Uganda has been a yardstick for and a good test practice for democracy, showing very good stability, a very tolerant government in terms of when it comes to election periods, a very stable economic growth, particularly in election years.
Should we say we are taking advantage of good security?
No, it may not really be the same per se. I would actually tell you that, and this has been said by at very high levels of discussion, that Uganda has some of the best policies in the whole world. Sure. I mean, but of course the problem comes to execution. So I would say that Ugandan lawmakers have had their very good part at discussing good laws that can enable good governance and all that. So that makes Uganda a very good yardstick for democracy in the region. Now, the prefectorial role played by Yoweri Museveni or the UPDF or the businessmen from Uganda will be supposed to be evident in the Kenyan situation in this year. We'd really like to see how these forces come to play in the Kenyan situation this year.
So, Mr. Derek, just like we've been talking about this, you realize that this is a concern of all East African countries, where Uganda must be involved, Kenya itself, then Tanzania, and other neighboring countries. Congo, because when it affects Kenya, it spreads across. It's like a cancer. So, do you see sense in not only Uganda getting involved, in also other countries getting involved, and are they getting involved anyway?
Well, I think Uganda has been readying itself for this election in a very unrelating way. We have seen Uganda trying to organize trade with the Congo, particularly.
Yeah, true.
The Kampala has been very instrumental in diplomatic ties with Kinshasa, and also Dar es Salaam. To that fact, we are seeing, for example, there's the pipeline. There's a mechanism for movement of fuel from the port in Dar es Salaam to Kampala. And we're also seeing the DRC being incorporated into the East African community. Now, what does DRC bring to the table? It provides an alternative that Kenya has been to Uganda and other countries in the region, Rwanda, Burundi, and even Tanzania. So, I feel that these mechanisms, mechanisms might not be timely, but they're really relevant in a way. And it also shows us close concern by policymakers in Uganda to prepare themselves for the future. It may not be particularly this election, but even in the future. Now, very key to note is how Kenya also, as a country, will prepare for itself for this election. Well, I don't know about that. But if you ask me, I'll tell you what the region is doing. And there's been very, very high-level talks going on in Arusha about these matters. I really feel there's a green light.
Okay, there is a green light. I can even ask you another question. Which picture does it give? Well, cat.
Go on.
Okay, sorry. Which picture do you think does it put across other countries? Like you've seen other countries like the European Union getting involved in elections of African countries, to be specific, Uganda and other foreign entities. Us ourselves getting involved in things of our own within East Africa, within Africa, does it put these other countries outside the board of also intervening and also seeing or overseeing or also following these elections, or it means still it involves all?
Well, That is a very serious...
Because to the contrary, formerly, it hasn't been the case that countries within the neighborhood tend to oversee or to come in to help or to come in and try to...
That raises a number of key issues. One is on the observer teams, I don't know how you put it, on the African continent, whether we are really seeing good progress or benefits of such systems, or the AU observer missions, IAC, the East African Community Observers, and many others in the region, whether they're really good for elections, whether they really provide good feedback for the region that has been used to grow democracy in the region. But also it raises the key issue of, and what I told you some time ago, that 88% of the crises in sub-Saharan Africa have been solved from within, not from without.
Yeah, that's on record.
So I want to bring this concern here that this whole dilemma of is the EU or the UN or I don't know what other agencies might be indicated for this. Are they really important for this circumstance? So the whole situation right now is that Africans are starting to believe that they can solve their issues as them.
Okay.
The state that was in 2008 when Kofi Annan had to move to Kenya to get two warring factions to sit together and have a coalition government is not the case right now, because we've had a precedent whereby there is a handshake recently in Kenya where between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, and they are starting to connect and work together. There was a sort of forward march to having a kind of consensus between all the warring parties in Kenya and what was being called the Building Bridges.
Are we doing this movement to dispatch ourselves from?
Well, in one way, it is but a step in that direction, in a way that Africa is starting to realize that we need to have domestic solutions, policies for our own calamity, our own ailments, instead of relying so much on the West. Because I think there is a precedent or to this.
I think on that matter, Derek, I can also point it out that us as Africa, we know our problems, even when we are the ones that caused them. And so there is no better person that can solve them than us, because we know them and we know how to solve them better. It's like, you know your wife, you have a misunderstanding with your wife, but you know a particular thing that triggers her to go off or to have misunderstandings with you, yet you're bringing the first person you're starting with is a person outside your family to solve what is within your family, yet you understand your family more than the person that you're bringing to.
Thank you for upholding marital status and family initiatives, but I really think the way we manage countries is not really the way we manage what?
Well, it could be general.
But I get your point.
Yeah,
but the whole point here is that we need to have domestically derived policy for our own situations. When the Muammar Gaddafi regime tried to intervene in Sierra Leone in a very petty solution of war, a petty circumstance or level of war, we actually saw tensions escalate. That's when the Revolutionary United Front was birthed, and it has continued to torment the country up to just recently here. What I'm trying to say is that every time a foreign agency tries to intervene into another country's own domestic issues, there is always very traumatizing effects or circumstances that arrive. So what I'm trying to say is that it will be very key, particularly in this case, for the Kenyan people to ready themselves as a country, to have proper checks and balances, but also for the East African community and Arusha in particular to dictate on this matter.
Mr. Derek, would Kenyans think the countries that are intervening specifically, because they have not been intervening before, should we say they may also sit down and maybe think there is a particular interest which is not a uniform interest of maybe but it's a selfish interest?
Well, I think it's not really an issue of interest or what, but I think it's a discussion on democracy and whether it is right for our republics, because democracy entails everything that you're talking about. that there must be elections, and another country must be worried about another country. Regional blocks must come together to discuss about that particular country.
We have been seeing countries when they intervene in elections of certain countries, people come out, critics come out and say maybe this country or this particular entity is direction on who to win and who not to win.
The pollsters do exist everywhere. In Kenya, I mean, over the years, there's this Muzungu, what's the company? There's a company that does poll analytics in Kenya. I mean, and years before, even in the 2018 election, they came up and gave poll rankings that Raila Odinga would win the election. Thank God it didn't happen. And that shines a light to our systems as Africans, that we don't really need to rely on people outside our countries to come and predict for us how our future is better than we do. I mean, among other things. So the state right now is that we're actually seeing institutions that are coming to the rise. We are seeing a much better and good.
How do you see, Mr. Derek, how do you see this being involved, like involving countries within in the domestic area rather than the countries outside? How do you see it as a movement that is going to bring out light to other countries? Do you really think it's a movement that's going to be picked up by all countries, or you think it may even be fought by other countries? Because some other countries also may feel they don't want to be superseded. They don't want, like, there are some countries that feel they're superiors, even within Africa.
Well, what might be good for the geese might be good for the gander. Practically, we've seen the ECOWAS as a regional bloc intervene into the affairs of Mali, Chad, and other West African states, and recent that have been having military insurgencies and uprisings. And they have not really been productive in any way. Actually, in the case of, where is this, where we had the Lieutenant General who took over power, Equatorial Guinea,
yes.
We actually got to see that the military became more tenacious in their pursuit of power. They had to stand strong and firm with the power that they had taken over, because they realized that there was regional interest in their seat of presidency. So the same thing might caricature in East Africa, that maybe the East African community or members or neighboring countries might be so interested in the affairs of Kenya as a country. And we really don't know what might happen, but I pray that it may not be the same thing as in Chad, that there might be sinister interest by a regional bloc into Kenyan affairs.
Mr. Derek, I would like to ask you the last question, and if you don't mind, you'll answer it to me. Well, I wanted to know, just like you're saying, we and other countries within Africa ought really to join in these elections of just not Kenya, but also other countries, including ourselves. You get? But since Kenya is one of the starting countries that we have done it to some other countries, but sometimes behind the scenes, but this time round we are coming out in the limelight. Do you really think it will affect our trade before this gets up, or do you think it's going to instead help our trade?
The trade is currently in a sorry state, I would say so. Just in 2021, there was a ban on sugar imports into Kenya from Uganda. In 2019, there was a ban on Lato milk imports.
Should we say we are trying to create friendship so that next time we don't face the same?
Well, I don't think there's
indirectly
any kind of friendship that will be in this particular election year will be very, very it will be suspect to allegations. We've already seen that happen. There was recently when His Excellency William Ruto and his lawyer Haruna Aiden tried to fly into Uganda. There was talk all over Kenya that maybe he was coming to have dialogue with similar particular, or these are allegations still, about certain issues and what. So any kind of connection that will happen between Uganda and Kenya will not be observed as the hand of a prefect over Kenya. It will be observed as sinister and very much interested in the geopolitics of the region, as has been seen before. So I really don't know what Kenya means to Uganda, but with the facts seen, we realize that anything that might happen to Kenya is going to affect Uganda in a very big way.
For the track record, we know very well that Uganda is one of the countries that seek for peace, seek for unity. We've seen it in a couple of countries. We can name Congo. So, we can say also that, but also to the other side, I would really think it's to the to the smallest degree that we could be seeking for selfish interests, because we have a track record of intervening. We have a track record of intervening, not just within, as far as even Somalia. So I really believe so.
Well, and also the fact, just to add on to what you said, that Uganda intervenes, yes, but it intervenes when where it has an interest. That's very key. I mean, particularly in the case of South Sudan in 2013, on around the 5th of December, when there was a breakout in Juba. You heard about that Salva Kiir, Riek Machar thing, when Ugandan forces were very integral in restoring calm there. And also in Somalia, contributing forces to the AMISOM. Was it in 2009, 2007? So, but this was all because Uganda contributed forces to Somalia because it had been attacked, I think, in 2005 or 2003. So you get to realize that Uganda is usually very interested in providing stability, security, peace outside East Africa, outside its borders, but mostly in places that it has an interest. So in this case, I don't know what will happen, but if Uganda try to provide stability in Kenya, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I would think, but I will not tell out what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I hope next time after elections of Kenya, if they're successful, our maize and our milk will be taken with two hands open.
Actually, I think big thanks to government stewardship by the minister, Rebecca, the former speaker, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga. She's been very instrumental in trying to solve these East African integral as Minister for East African Affairs. She's been holding very nice dialogues, and I've been trying to follow the thread and everything, and I really see good promise out of it. I strongly believe that even before the 8th of August, the election of Kenya, most of the things will be a thing of the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A big shout out to Kenyans outside there. For us in Uganda, it's too hot. Hope you're showering and raining in the winters. Thank you so much. This is Tribal Roots Uganda. We are fixing Africa.
Oh my God.
Yes, Derek, you have any last words to say?
To the winter in Kenya, I hope you're enjoying it, because last year, I think the 5th of August, the president of Kenya declared disaster in a state of emergency in Kenya. So just recently, when I heard the Prime Minister of Uganda saying that there's winter in Kenya, it was really
actually for another day. I intentionally put on this jumper to prepare for the coldness while I was going to talk about Kenya and its elections. Thank you so much for watching Tribal Roots. Thank you so much for geopolitics. Next week, please tune to us. It has been a great time. Most importantly, subscribe and comment. God bless you. We love you so much.